Okay. Hey, Chad, how's it going today?
Good. How you doing, Dan?
Just living the dream, brother.
Always.
When we going golfing.
Oh, we got 60-degree weather here now, so tomorrow.
All right. I'm in. Count me.
All right.
Hey, listen, man, thanks for taking the time. Oops. Thanks for taking the time to join me today. I want to talk about how you've been successful at getting a hold of people, skip tracing them, people that are in distress, delinquent property tax owners. Over the last couple of years, you've had some really big deals, and I want to share that with some of the other people that are just getting started, right?
Yeah, sounds good.
So tell me a little bit about your background, and then I'll ask you a few questions.
Well, background, I started doing this with you about, 2.5 years ago, and I love all the data. And the data was great that you gave me, and we had a lot of tax. Well, I take that back. There's a lot of people not paying their taxes in Chicago that we kind of hang on. We you are you gonna edit this at all?
No,
And us.
yeah, right on. So you've had some good success, and what I want to do is, when you first start getting on the phone, were you scared or were you timid, or how do you approach just getting on the phone and start dialing away?
I think those are good words to use. Scared, timid. Um, yeah, and it was tough in the beginning. Rejection is hard in any aspect of life. And what I've noticed doing it now with you for a while is you're going to get rejected. Every day I'm going to get rejected, but I'm not scared and timid anymore. And that helps a lot because there's a lot of phone calls that I do make where the homeowner is very rejecting towards me. And then 3 days later, they call back and we have an awesome conversation. But I think the best part about it is just being yourself when you're calling these homeowners and talking to them like you would talk to anybody and not trying to use extremely big words or be intimidating or try to control the conversation, but just have a normal conversation with them like you would your friends on the telephone.
Yeah, I often think that the job is not to really be a salesman or a slick salesman trying to high power people. It's really just to be able to start conversations. There's a couple of things I think. Tell me if it's true. Number one, you got to be persistent at trying to find them, right? Them, their relatives, whoever, somebody that's connected to the property. So then once you do that, you got to start a conversation, be likable, be lighthearted, have fun. And then number three, see if there's a solution available.
I agree.
But it's not like sales, like, hey, you got to buy this, or you're gonna.
No, I completely agree. And another problem I think I had in the beginning with this was calling numbers and them not answering. But I recommend that you stay on the phone because the voicemail is also very important. Some people say their names and leaving voicemails. You can find out the person that you're calling if it's the working number, and then from there you can shoot them a text, and with good success rate with that. Text messages are also a good way of getting a hold of people and leaving voicemails. And if it's not the person on the voicemail, they can exclude that number and not waste your time anymore with it.
Okay. Um, what when how persistent do you have to be, like, and what how persistent do you have to be to find a deal in this?
Yeah, you have to be persistent. You have to get a working number for the home or use your skip trace, software and find a relative that is associated with that property also. I mean, I don't know if anyone on here uses a skip trace um, app yet, but they list everybody that's ever been associated with that property. And it doesn't hurt to call all of them, text all of them, and again, have the normal conversation with them. Don't act like a bill collector because we're not bill collectors. We're actually calling to give them money for a property that they're going to either lose now or in the future. So I think it's just important to stay, go through that list and contact everybody. And when you get them on the phone, explain the situation to them. Don't give them details about how much money they're behind or how much they owe in taxes, but tell them, hey, I'm just here to help. Can you please refer me to the person that owns the property? And what I noticed with that is they won't give you the number. So I wouldn't be persistent trying to get the number out of them, but they will contact the person if they know them and give them your number. And I have a lot of success rate with that too. I know some people try to beat the number out of the relative. I don't think that's a good route. Let them control that situation and contact their relative that owns the property and get back to you.
Yeah, so it's not like a one call sale, right? I mean, you may start a conversation, you may have to call 15 times. You may get a conversation, then you got to wait for them to call back. They don't call back. So then you got to follow up. Then you got to chase them down. Then you get a hold and they're like, yeah, because just because you get off the phone right now and you say, I'm going to call Louis or whoever, you may not get a hold of Louis for a week or two.
It's
You
true.
know, your life has other things going on and you forget about that. You start doing other things in life. So it really comes down to persistence breaks down resistance. And let's do this if you don't mind. Do a little role playing with me. Pretend that I'm Dan, I'm losing my property for back taxes. Do a little role playing, call me up and tell me how you would pitch somebody.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. I think it's important not to call them by the first name when you call it. So I'm not going to say, "Hey Dan." What I would do is, let's say the property is 123 Market Street. I would call and I would say, "Hey, I know this is out of the blue, but I'm interested in the property at 123 Market Street. Are you the owner?"
Well, no, that's my dad's house.
Oh, your dad, is he still alive? Does
He
he still
is.
own it?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
is? Oh, okay. So, I do this for a living, real estate investor in Chicago. Just wondering what's going on with the property. I see that there's some back taxes that are coming due pretty quickly. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, he doesn't have the money. I think he's in a between a rock and a hard place.
We actually, I can relate to that everyone is with COVID, and it feels like time was moving so slow, but in the end so fast. What's do you talk to him on a regular basis?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Well, we have to find some sort of solution for him. Um, if you go with me or borrow the money from a family member, do you have the money to give him?
No, brother, I don't have the money.
Well, what do you think his goal would be with this property? Because the end result is it's going to be lost to taxes. Do you think he wants to sell or
I don't know. Tell me what you can do, man.
well, the first thing I can do is just buy it and give him a fair offer on the property. But we don't lowball and we're not going to overpay. But if we can come to an agreement of a fair offer, I can send my realtor out there to take a look and give you that number if he's willing to do that. But he has to be prepared to move, and that's the big
Yeah, he's
question.
been in that house for 30 years, man. That's gonna, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, well, since he lives there, unfortunately, Chicago won't allow us to do a traditional loan on the property. But we do have another option, which is our LLC agreement, which will give him some time to find another property. But again, I want to stress that he has to be prepared to move. Um, we do this all the time and we do it for a living. We helped a lot of families, but maybe you have that conversation with him and you know tell him the only thing we can he's going to have to move if he doesn't come up with the money, and we can help that process and make it very easy on him. But I don't want to pressure someone into doing something they don't want to do.
Okay, cool. Well, that was good, Chad. I mean, you basically, we'll stop role playing for a minute here. I mean, the bottom line is there's no slick speech that I can give you to say to people. You have to go with something that's in your heart, something that flows off the tip of your tongue very easily. And the main thing is just to get a conversation going.
Right.
Once you get the conversation going, before you finish that conversation, you'd be like, well, let's get dad on the phone together and let's see if there's a solution because, he should probably want to get something versus nothing. I'm sure he put a
Right.
lot of time and money into that house. And wouldn't it be a tragic event to see him lose it and not get, put out on the street and not get anything?
Yeah, that's exactly what will happen.
Yeah. One of the
And
things that I like to say to people is, pretend if that was me, I'd be like, Chad, do you know how the tax redemption process works in Illinois? And he would say, yeah, if he doesn't pay, he's going to lose the property. And I'll say, yeah, that's true. But here's what happens in a nutshell. Person didn't pay the taxes 4 years ago. And it was not a problem. They missed the first tax payment, tax buyer bought it. Tax buyers sends out notices, but he doesn't get any phone calls like if it was a Capital One account or if it was a car payment. Nobody's calling him. Second year, he's thinking, I'm going to catch up, doesn't catch up. Boom, 2 years are sold. Now 3 years are sold. Before you know it, 4 years are sold. And now you got this date that's coming up next month, which is his last day to redeem. If he, up until that day, he has all the rights to redeem. If he doesn't redeem on that day, he doesn't get kicked out that day. But he will get kicked out in the future because after that day, he lost all his legal rights. He won't be able to redeem. The tax buyer will petition for a deed. They'll get that deed in several weeks, and then they'll be looking to evict the person, and then he's going to get zero. So what we want to do is make sure that that's not what happens. Let's get him out. Let's get some money in his pocket, and let's start talking numbers and seeing how we can make sure he doesn't get zero.
Yeah, that's exactly the way it works.
Yeah. All right, cool. So let's go over, before we wrap this up, a couple of deals you've done. I know all the deals. I've been involved with them because we put up the capital and you put up the persistence to get the people on the phone. So tell me a little bit about the North Chicago deal.
Yeah, North Chicago was interesting. The gentleman was in a nursing home, actually him and his wife, and they were going to lose their taxes, their house to taxes, fairly quickly, I think within that month. And we got a hold of him in the nursing home. Every time I would call, I'd have to call the nursing home. They would transfer me to his room. And sometimes he wasn't in his room. And I had the pleasure of then talking to his wife. Got a little personal. I found out they were Dolphins fans, which I don't agree with, but living in Chicago. But yeah, we created a plan together and we both stuck to our word. And the gentleman sold his house to us and he got the money and he was happy, and we were happy that we could help him out also. But it was persistent to call the nursing home and track him down. I don't know how that nursing home was, but he was running around it. It was
Yeah, I know. We had a couple, two, three dumpsters full of stuff. I mean, they were in a nursing home, but that house was filled up to the ceiling and some spots
yeah,
with things, old belongings.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I don't know if anyone's really interested in that property that's listening to this, we can show you some pictures and show you what that looked like. But we put a good plan with them. We set some things aside that he wanted. He unfortunately couldn't get back to the property. And I even had conversations with his brother, coordinated the removal of some of the things that they wanted. And it was good for him to not just lose all that stuff that he worked so hard for over those years. And the house was in the family name since 1901.
Over 100 years.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the story was when we had two different realtors go up there and tell us we would not be able to sell it for more than 69K. And we were into
Yeah.
it for like 50, 55. And you and I felt like we can get 99 or more.
Yeah.
And so we basically said, okay, let's list it at 99. And if it doesn't sell, we'll lower the price. And I think we got an offer in less than 2 weeks at 105.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what
That
happened.
was, I mean, you had the part where you did the negotiations. I had,
Mm.
then on the back end, the numbers part was interesting that two realtors, including one of our team members, and the new guy we were trying out said, no, you're not going to get more than 69. And I
Yeah.
remember the kid telling me that he's like, hey, my broker has been in the business for 30 years, so I got to take his word for it. And I'm like, okay, well. So anyways, we won that one.
Yeah, we won it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one. But and I will just touch on that also, when we do this process, we understand what the price of the house is in the current condition. And with all that stuff in there, with we can get into details of what was in that house, but no one, if you can imagine, no one's has been in that house for a year and a half, 2 years, and the amount of clutter was floor to ceiling. So just removing that stuff really raised the value a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the majority of the real estate investor that would have went in there would have came with that price, seeing the way it was before we took the time to clear it out and fix, certain things that needed fixed.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. So I know we had the Rockford deal, we had Ridgeway, we have which one's your favorite to talk about?
Oh, favorite. That's a good question. The Three Ugly Houses. That's still my favorite,
Yeah,
even though it wasn't the most profitable for us. But for somebody to sell three houses to us and pay to sell those houses was very interesting.
yeah. Briefly, go over the Three Ugly Houses.
Yeah, Three Ugly Houses, all back taxes. Talked to the owner's realtor of the properties, and they came at a higher number, and we just said, you know what, we'll give you the exact amount. I don't remember, but I'm gonna say 25,000 for all three of the houses. Well, we didn't know all the liens, etc., and the exact amount of the back taxes, but I think it was right around somewhere 100,000 or 75,000. But he had to bring that money to close those properties, and he was a man of his word. He wanted to pay off his debts, and those were three of his debts. I don't think those were the only three houses he's ever owned in his life. I think he had a lot of properties, and he's has done and is doing very well. But we sold those properties. This was a good assignment deal because you sold it to one of your clients. Uh, so we did a assignment deal at closing, and no money came out of your pocket. And
And we did the rehab loan on it,
yeah, you did the loan on that. I forgot about that
right?
part.
So
Hmm.
we did the assignment and we did the rehab loan, and we ended up buying three. I think two of them were brick, one was framed for 25K basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the bargain basement deal that I've ever seen, buy three properties for 8 grand a piece.
It was a long shot, but it actually worked fairly smoothly. I mean,
Yeah, I think with the assignment fees and broker fees, we made about 30 grand.
yeah, I think it was right
So
on.
those are deals that, normally like, yeah, we can't do them. They want too much. They're ugly. They got taxes on them. They were all vacant.
Yeah.
And those properties are all rehab now and looking good. All right, listen, Chad, any last thing you want to share with people that are getting involved and starting to call this year who want to try to replicate your success and be able to have some success helping distressed property owners in 2023?
Yeah, I think it's okay. The words we use, to be timid, to be afraid. I think it's okay. And after you do it 10, 20 times, or for somebody else, it might take 30, 40, 50 times, that's going to go away. Just give it a shot. Talk to them like you would talk to your family losing a property or a friend losing a property, and get over that fear of being afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody, because I promise you, after you do it, for me, let's just say 50 times, that feeling goes away, and you're confident in what we have to offer them. So that will push away the fear, because you really at that point will understand that we're calling to help.
Yeah, we have the ability to close, and you know that now. You know that if you get a good deal locked, we're gonna get it done together
That's
as a team.
very
We've proven ourselves many times over.
that's very important. Mhm.
All right, brother. Well, thanks for coming on today. Have a great day. Hit them long, hit them straight.
I'll see you then. Bye.